Good morning, class. Today we're going to go over what we covered in class, which is listed over here, all the different commands we've covered up to date. And the new commands we're going to discuss today are circle, hole, pattern. Okay, there's a couple of commands we're going to cover. We're going to cover two drawings. This is one of them. This is another one. And this is the last one. So it's three drawings. I take that back. It's three drawings. This second one I think you can almost do on your own, yes, with everything that you already know, except using the whole command. Then you can do the whole drawing. I know, bad joke. Moving on. This one I'll cover first because it's the simplest of the two in the video that you're going to get. This particular drawing is in inches, okay? So we started the model already. How did I start it? Remember, File, New. Do not pick the default. You want to make sure you pick the correct units of measurements or using the correct template. Please remember that. I've had enough students start the wrong way, and it's a project to get them back the correct way. In here, your next thing that you want to do is put in what? You got to, I recommend, while you're working with this product brand new, you turn all your planes on. If you know how to use the product, you can just go home, pick the plane you want to go into and start drawing. That's up to you. That's your call. For new users of Inventor or any 3D CAD product, I recommend you select everything. I used my shift key to do that. Right mouse button and make it all visible so you could at least see them all. Because you can never start a drawing in a 3D environment unless you have a plane that you start your sketch on. So I'm going to pick this sketch because you're going to ask the question why. Well, it looks like a donut. It's round. So I'm going to pick this and just create a new sketch. The circle command is right there. You have several choices, of course, in how you do a circle. The other two options are relevant for future projects. For today, just this one. Again, if you ever want to know about any command, just leave your mouse on top of the icon for a few minutes and a whole explanation appears. Remember that, please. And if you have more questions, you see the option for press F1. Whoops, I can't move my mouse. See where it says press F1 for more help at the bottom of this little dialog box that popped up? Click on that and it'll give you more options. Please remember that. So I picked this, go to the center. Remember that's what was that green thing again? I forgot. What's this green dot that appeared? Why did it turn green? Because it's go. Get it? When it's not go, it's yellow. I wish it was red, to be honest, but it's yellow. When you drop it where it belongs, it turns green. It's go. That means it's hooked onto there. What is that? That's the constraint. That's a constraint. Constraint of geometry. Now notice what it does. As long as I don't click, if you don't get mouse happy or heavy, however way you want to phrase it, you can actually put the dimension in right now. And the dimension of this guy, when we went through this conversation, it's the boxes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 times 2. So it's 12 boxes. So it's 12 inches. Get it? Or what is it? Did I do it wrong? Each box is what? Is it an inch or a quarter inch? What's the scale? Quarter inch. So I'm wrong when I said 1, 2, 3, and I said 12 inches. Each box is a quarter of an inch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 boxes equal an inch, right? And then 2 more boxes, so it's 1.5 inches on one side. So it's 1.5 inches plus 1.5 inches, which is 3 inches on the diameter. If I didn't want to do all the math, what could I do? How you select the circle command matters. Center point, see that? Click on the center and you go out. It automatically presumes to ask for diameter. If I right mouse button, can I do something else? Yeah, I got the option for radius right there. Got it? But that's in your right mouse buttons. So either you could do the math or you could pick radius because you know the dimension of one side. Your call. I know it's a small number that we're working with here, but I want you to be aware of how to do this. So you type the 1.5 in and that's what you get. Now here's the annoying part. Notice what it did? It dropped the dimension in, but the radius of 1.5. Is that really what we want the customers to see? No. We want them to see the diameter because the customer cares about the overall size of the part. They're not going to care about the radius of the part. It's a little word of advice. So I deleted the dimension, and I'm going ahead and putting in the correct number, the correct dimension, which is 3. Why does this matter? Why on earth do the dimensional constraints matter in a model? I mentioned this in a previous conversation with you guys. Anyone remember? This one you can yell out as the answer. Does anyone know why how I dimension here matters? How you dimension here directly translates in how it's going to look on your detailed drawing. So how you dimension your model, the constraints you assign to your model, your dimensional constraints assigned to your model, directly translate to your detailed drawing. So if you want less work when you're doing your detailed drawing, do a better job at how you model your part. Get it? Cool? It's not magic how detailed drawings dimension themselves. It's you. How you discipline yourself and how you dimension your model, meaning you're putting in your constraints. How you do it here directly translates to there. Too many times I've had students say, why does it give me the radius automatically? I want it to be the diameter. I'm like, well, what dimension did you assign in the model? Oh, it was a radius. Well, that's why. Got it, guys? So keep that in mind. I'm only going to draw the outer shape. I think I got the right dimension. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. I'm not going to put in the inside shape because I want to use the whole command to show you how that works. So essentially, we're making a hockey puck. So I'm going to go ahead and I forgot. How should I get to extrude, guys? Should I hit finish sketch or can I just jump to the tab? Just jump to the tab, right? Yep. And then when you see create, I can just pick extrude. And then the distance I want to extrude up is the height of this thing. Now that's the fun part. How do you assess the height on something? You got to go to an edge where you could see it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 squares down. 4 squares is an inch. You can go down or up. I'm just going to go up. It's okay. And I hit OK. Done. Next. Modify toolbar I've not discussed with you before. That's what I'm showing you today. The whole wizard is found. It's not the whole wizard, excuse me. That's in a different product. In this product, it's just called whole. There's nothing wizardly about it. You can go to the whole command 2 ways. You can pick the face and click on it, or you can just click on it up front. It doesn't care. Some other software products, you have a nightmare if you don't pick the face first. The name of that product will remain unmentioned right now. So, but when you open this thing up, I'll maximize it so you can see this. When you go to the whole wizard, whole, sorry, I have a habit of the other name. Whole, okay? The properties are neat. You can put input geometry. You've got where am I putting this thing? That's what input geometry means. Input geometry refers to position. Where is this going to be? So if you click on the face, is that good enough? You can always drag the little shape that appears and lock it into the center. Isn't that beautiful? See that? Okay, I'm going to undo because I see a lot of looks on your faces. Again, I'm going to pick whole. The first thing you got to select is what I recommend. You open this up, you look for position. Where am I dropping this thing? When you under-select position, if I wanted to get really picky, there isn't, I don't get any options because I don't have any. When I go into position and I pick the face of the object, not anything else. Notice that? The face of the object. Do not pick the plane. Remember what I told you before. If you add features into the plane, if you move the part, the feature doesn't move with it. It's like sliding it off the table and your feature is underneath glass and it doesn't move. Remember that. So you always, after you create that first extrusion or revolve, you always use the body of the object to do whatever else you're going to do. I click on the face. Now notice it appeared way the heck over there. Inventor is smart in the sense that they give you the center. You see that little center node reference? They give that to you. So you can actually then drag, hold your left mouse button down, and drag it to the correct center. Do you see that? And then you can let go. Now the only issue, of course, is the dimension. What is its diameter? I don't know because I didn't record that information. I gotta look at the drawing. What's the inside dimension? It's 1 1/4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares plus 1/4. So it's 1 1/4 inches. 1 1/4? Is that correct, or what is it? 1 1/4 is what side? This is asking for diameter, remember that. So do I type in 1 1/4 or do I type in maybe 1 1/4 times 2? Did you see that? Remember the math? I can do, it's all about the math. Remember the math conversation? I can put in the math. Let me open this up again. I can put in the math. I can 1 1/4 is the radius, right? Times 2 till I get the diameter. Get it? Got it, guys? Please remember that. The next question is, how deep does it go? What is it? Well, it's going to be a through hole. It's a simple hole. It's not, is it going to be a tolerance hole? No, because I'm not putting a fastener through it. Is it a threaded type hole, a tapered hole, for example? No. Tapped hole, not tapered. Sorry, the next one's tapped. I'm sorry, tapered. Tapped hole is threaded hole. Okay? It's not a threaded hole. It's not a tapered hole, which would be like a pipe fitting, an MPT. So it's not a 1/4 I'm not thinking about putting a thread in this thing. I just want a hole. A simple hole. Literally, a simple hole. Now the next question is going to have a seat. A seat is technically like a counter bore, a spot face, which is a shallow counter bore, or a counter sink, which is the last one. Termination, meaning where does it go? Is it going to go through the hole? Is it going to be to a certain spot? Is it going to be a distance? Remember how we did the extrude cut? And I showed you how you can pick a face so that it extrudes to the face. Remember that? That's basically the same stuff. So what can you do? I can go ahead and click on my cube and go to the bottom part and actually terminate it to what? The other surface. See that? Now, why would I intentionally pick the other surface? Any thoughts on that? I could also pick through. You know, you've got a through all option, or I could just pick through all. Okay? When you pick through all, which works, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Through all goes all the way through the part. If I ever add anything beneath it, guess what happens? It goes through that too. I have a tendency, this is me as a designer, because I tend to use the software to design something that doesn't exist yet. You guys are using existing drawings, right? So you're using something existing and you're using it for the purpose of just replicating what you see. In reality, you're going to be at a company doing a drawing of something that a client is going to give you some specifications on. And then they do this magic thing called change their mind. We've never had those, right? And then you're like, what do you mean? Oh, you don't want that anymore. You want something else. So I'm in the habit of picking face-to-face because of that. Because if they ever choose to add something after that, I don't have to go change my commands. So that's just me. It's a personal thing. You can pick through all because it is a hole through the whole thing, or you can pick to face, which is up to a specific area. That's your call. Once you have it done, you hit OK, and oh, darn it, what did it do? It's through all, right? Did it go all the way through? Yes, it did. Go to the top. Whee! Go home. Yes. So it's literally through the whole part. So it did not leave any little pieces of anything. Cool? That's how I choose to use it. See right there, you got the hold command. Any questions? I know it's recording, so I'll stop. I will stop asking for. Go ahead, throw it out at me.
Would there be an actual way to change it to
Diameter?
radius?
Yes, good question. If after the fact I realize, you know what, I could just put the diameter, and why on earth did I do the math on radius? Right mouse button, you can edit that. Is it the sketch or the feature? The sketch or the feature? Good question. The sketch makes the whole location. See that? And notice for the sketch, all you have is what? The dot. So it's not the sketch that I'm looking to edit. It's the feature. Because the feature contains all the content. Right here, instead of it saying 1.25 times 2, I can just say 3. Is it 3? No. 1.25 times 2 is? Inch and a... Exactly. See? I can type it to whatever the client says. So if they say 2.5 and then later on they turn around and say, no, I don't want 2.5, I want something else. Fine, whatever you want, no problem. Got it? And then you hit OK. Excellent question. Thank you. I'm glad that one's recorded. Because I can go in and fix anything. If I change my extrude, right mouse button. So you have two things, edit the sketch or edit the feature. Each time you're editing something. So the question is, what do you want to edit? If they don't like the diameter of that initial sketch, you edit the sketch because that's where that information lies. See? It lies in the sketch. If it's the thickness of the part they want to change because they don't want it to be whatever it was, which is an inch, maybe they want to change this to 1.5 inches, this is where you change it. Feature is what you do to the sketch. Sketch is what the feature is made from. So if I want to edit that sketch, I have to click on that, change it here, finish it. I can turn that sketch on, make it visible, and then I can manipulate it on the fly. See that? But having all your sketches on is a visual nightmare, so I tend not to. Got it? When did I turn a sketch on last time? What was I doing to it? I was sharing it. Remember that? That was in the first example I gave you guys. That's when I was sharing the sketch. So I had to turn it on so I could share it. I'm going to change this back to 1. So I've got 2 sketches and this complete body. Yes, I could have done it in 1. How many of you want to tell me, Ms. Sherris, why don't you just make it 2 circles and extrude them? I could have. You're right. You're absolutely right. I did this for the sole purpose of showing how to use the hold command. You're right. That's the only reason I use the hold command here. It's the only reason. All right? I use the hold command for a big hole, but I can also turn around and use it, obviously, for any size holes. So we have little ones here. What size are they? They happen to be a 1/4 inch diameter, right? From what I can tell. They're 1/4 inch diameter. And there's a slew of them. 16 of them, and it says it on top as well, 16 at 0.25 diameter, equally spaced. So equally spaced means it really doesn't matter where I start. So I want to make life easy for myself because I am lazy. Okay, that is documented again on a recording for the 1,000th time. And back to how to I want to add a hole to this face. So, of course I taught you to do what? Pick the face. You can't create a hole on a curved surface. You cannot create a rib on a curved surface. There's a lot of things you can't do on a curved surface because the dimension keeps changing. Out of good old geometry class, or if you took calculus and you have those parabola conversations, you have a different XY position at every single spot, right? That is the reason you cannot just pick a face and drill a hole in it. You have to have the exact coordinate. So what's the solution? We've used it before. You got it. We're going to pick work plane. Now notice on the planes you have a whole bunch of choices. You can pick plane and go through it that way. Pick this, pick that, pick the surface, pick the object. Or you can actually say tangent to surface through edge, tangent to surface through point. I'll pick tangent to surface through edge, just for fun. So I'm going to pick the surface, but there is no, gosh darn it, gee williker. It wants an edge. Maybe an edge, an edge, an edge. This whole thing is round. Does it technically have an edge? No. So I can't use the one that looks like the right one to use. Notice that? Tangent to surface and parallel plane. Tangent and surface through point. I don't have a point on here either, but I do have a parallel plane. Meaning, I'm picking this plane and poof, there it is. See that? It jumps directly to the tangent surface. Do you see that? Move my mouse away. It's not there. Touch it. Yes. No. Yes. See it? See it? It goes ahead and adds the plane in parallel. And I'll show you that. This new plane is parallel to an existing plane, and it is perfectly tangent to the surface of that outer body. Done. Cool? Okay, let me do that again. Oops, not that one. There we go. I can also do it by just clicking on plane. I pick this, I pick the plane, I pick this. You see that? Isn't that beautiful? So do I need to make a point of opening this up and showing you this? I did it so you see it. But you can actually pick the first option, and it will intelligently assess what works as you do it. So that later on, you can just pick plane, pick this existing plane, pick the face of the object, and there it is. Now, if that's the wrong plane, the wrong spot that you want this on, that's a different conversation. I'll show you how to create a plane in a specific position later for a different project. But that's where you would use this surface through a point business. Got it? That's when you want to have a specific spot that the plane exists. Very specific. In our case, it doesn't matter. Everything is equidistant. See this? Everything is equidistant. So for us, it doesn't matter where we start the first hole. You see what I'm saying there? That's the only reason I'm being that casual about this. Now, this is also the only time you'll ever hear me say, pick the plane to drill the hole. See, I'm going to tell you to pick the plane. Why? Because there is no object. There's no spot. See that? And if I move this thing, you're going to be like, well, I don't know where to drop this thing. See that? The diameter is fine, 0.25, but its position is questionable. How do I know where it is? What do I have to assign to get it right? Can I go into Sketch? Can I assign a line to see what it did? Look what it did. It threw me out of the hole command. Notice that? Now there's two ways to get this plane get the hole exactly where you want. Just like anything else. Well, not just two ways. There's more than two ways. I'm going to show you one of them. Okay? I'm going to pick the face of this and create a sketch. I'm going to use a new command called project geometry, and I'm going to include that in my notes. The whole reason I'm doing this, the only reason I'm doing this is so that I can show you this command early on in your drawing cycle here. Project geometry. Project geometry literally allows me to project the geometry that exists on my model into my current plane. I'm going to pick the top line and I'm going to pick the bottom line. Okay, and you see the little yellow? That's the construction geometry. See that? Then I'm going to add one more line straight down. I'm going to make this construction geometry because I don't want it to fight me. Okay? Anytime you want to use something as reference, but you don't want it to fight you in what you're doing, you make it construction geometry. Got it? All you do is click on the entity. These are construction automatically, but I can click on these and turn them into construction geometry. What's nice is these go both ways. I can actually use them. The yellow lines are there. They're projected lines from the other object. They are object lines, and I can use them like you did in the previous project. In this case, I'm just using them strictly for reference. Could I have gotten away with not using them at all? Let's find out. Meaning, can I simply draw, if I delete these two, will it even let me delete them at this point? No, they're there because I projected them on there. So I can delete my sketch, of course, and let me do a different way. I'm going to click this plane. I'm going to click creating a sketch. And now, of all things, I'm just going to draw a line from intersection to intersection. What did it do automatically? Project the geometry. You notice that? Instead of me picking project geometry, it did it for me anyways. Both approaches work. The result is the same in both cases. You can turn it all into construction geometry if you want, or you can leave it as is. It doesn't matter. Your call. Cool? The purpose of me putting this line down the middle is twofold. I can pick a point and actually drop this dead center, or when I make my hole, if I exit, finish the sketch, and then put in my hole, I actually can find a way. We'll see if it does it for me. So I can position this along this. Is that working very well for me? No, too much work. Do you notice that? If I did it this way, what would I have to do? I'd have to dimension it, wouldn't I? I'm not going to do it this way because I am that lazy. Instead, I am going to edit that sketch and put in an actual spot. I'm going to go and put in a point. That's the point of points. People always ask me, what's the point of having a point on, what is this little icon here for? That point is used for the purpose of identifying centers of holes. That is its primary purpose. Yes, I can use it for other things, but that's an actual reason why it exists. Now when I go to 3D model and go into hole command, boom! You see that? It attaches directly. It doesn't care about anything. Isn't that beautiful? That's what you want. Take the KISS approach, my opinion. Size of the hole is 1/4 inch, 0.25. Now, how far am I going to go? You see how it says simple hole? I can go through all, or like I usually ask, I say go to the surface, which means go to the inside. See that? When it goes to the inside, it only goes to there. It will not go all the way through. It looks like it does, but it doesn't. That's why I rotated it so you could see that. Pick the inside surface. When I hit OK, I have a hole only on one side. Now, I have the opportunity to show you the next command, which is pattern. Make sure I put pattern in my, yes I did. The pattern command is right here. First thing it wants you to do is pick the item you're going to pattern. The next thing it wants you to do, it's not going to show you this, you're going to have to click on the next option, which is a rotation axis, which is the center of the item. Then you're going to identify how many holes was it, 12? Let me look real quick. 16. 16. You know what? I'm going to put in 12. I'm going to make the mistake. Got it? And I'm going to hit, you have a position. How do you want it to be positioned? If you pick fixed, you're going to get a very interesting object. You want to pick rotating so it goes around like an index. It's indexed around. And you hit OK, and that's what you get. I screwed up. Wrong number of holes. I didn't put the right number in. I'm going to pick circular pattern. I'm going to right mouse button, I'm going to edit the feature, and put in the correct count, and hit OK. Cool. That is literally how I would recommend you make this part. It's okay if you made your base shape with both circles in it and extruded it. But as far as the hole command itself, for this part, I would recommend you use the hole command. HOLE. Okay? That's this guy. The next one is this one. All right, this one is also in English, standard inches. I'm going to hit create. This one, the same method. Start my planes. Go to ISO. This guy, I'm actually going to start off the right side view. Again, I'm only showing you one method. I'm actually going to lock it down by this base geometry over here on this side. So I'm actually going to put that large diameter circle there. I am going to intentionally pick diameter for the dimension. 1, 2, 3, so it's 70 point, so it's what? 0.75, whoops. 0.75 times 2. I want you to see that you can do that. All right, and the nice part is it actually is going to show up as a diameter 1.5 on the other side, just so you're aware. Now, of all things, I'm going to extrude this from the middle. I'll make life a little easier. You already know how to use the hole command, so I'm going to pick the center circle automatically. But I'm going to dimension it differently, just to show you. You can dimension things as the object, or you can dimension them from one object to the other object, and you can dimension the width of the thickness, shall I say, of the tubing. You see that? The thickness. Not the inside diameter, but the thickness. I could do that. The reason I mention that is because if you're ever doing tubing, and it'll say it's diameter blah blah with wall thickness of whatever. They don't care about the inside diameter. They care about the wall thickness, right? So that's why I'm showing you that, just so you could see it. That's the only reason I'm putting it in this presentation, is so you could see that you can do that. Okay, that's the only reason. This is the one that I'm going to actually extrude differently than anything else because I haven't done it yet, so it gives me an opportunity to show you. I do have to identify what I'm going to extrude because I have two different elements I can extrude. Instead of extruding one way though, I'm going to go mid-plane. This is the one I would go mid-plane on. Mid-plane. Why? Because it is symmetrical from the center out. Got that symmetry in it. Now you might say, well, you know what? It does, but then how do I get that cavity out of there, right? I'm going to do this just so I could show you how painful it's going to be. If you do it this way, just so you have that experience. 1, 2, 3. Now the question is how wide is this thing? But we're going to count together. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 wide, so it's an inch wide. Okay, from the mid-plane, I'm going to start my next sketch, which is going to be lines, construction lines. How do I start a sketch? What should I do? There you go. See that? I'm going to go out this way. Draw a line straight down there. Go back this way. Looks like AutoCAD now, right? What I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see. I'm going to drag this line so it ends there. I'm going to turn this line into construction geometry. I'm going to draw a circle out here to there. Do you see that? And let's see what else. Am I doing this? Yeah, this is, let's see what this looks like. It's dead in the center. I just need to get its distance. From center to center. What's the center to center distance? This is fun. Finding it is a bit of a project. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares over. So that's 6 times 0.25, right? You see that? See what I did there? See how I did that? I didn't really spend too much time on it. I just did that. I'm going to draw in that inner circle right here. Drop that dimension in. Again, I'm only doing this little bit so that you can see the thickness business. I can go ahead and put in this line up here. I can randomly put a line here and put a line down here. I can dimension it. The width of it can be the 1/4 inch that it is, right? And then I can dimension from there to center line. This, remember the f of x, function of x, I can take this divided by 2 so that I get it centered. Is this good? Is this all right? Is it good enough? Is it gonna break? Let's find out. I'm very sloppy. I'm doing a very sloppy model. Just be aware of that. I'm gonna go to 3D model and extrude. It's kinda gonna work. Ah, darn it, it worked. See that? From mid-plane. Now the question is how wide? Did I make any mistakes? I counted these squares, remember when I was checking the width on that guy? That was the mistake. But I'm going to say, how do I fix that? First, let me do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1 inch. And that's when I realized my first extrusion is wrong. Right? Because it extends past this. So the question is, how do I fix it? Doesn't matter for me to show you how to draw if I don't show how to fix the mistakes. Got it, guys? So to go back and fix this, right mouse button, edit the sketch or the feature? The sketch, which one's wrong, guys? Is the sketch the problem or the feature? The feature. Instead of 1 inch, what should it be? 1.5 inches. Now watch what happens. I hit OK, and poof, there it is. It actually worked out. Isn't that cool? I can go back and fix it. Because what plane did I use to make this sketch from? The center feature. Let me roll this back for a minute. This and this are both built off of what plane? The middle plane. That's the only reason this thing didn't ketchup and mustard, foobar on me, as I like to call it. Because I didn't pick the face of that circle to make it. I used center extrude. So everything's being extruded from the center, and that's okay. That's the only reason this worked. Yes? No? Not yet. Now the last thing to figure out is the cut inside, correct? So I'm going to pick the same center sketch, and I'm going to create a new sketch. And I'm going to use something I've already taught you to do, which is what? Share a sketch. Remember that? So I literally shared that whole sketch there. I forgot, how do you fix it so I can view the product through it? Remember that one? I need to view it as a wireframe. It's very confusing though, right? If you go to the right plane, not so confusing now. So that internal cavity space, now I have access to it. I'm going to extrude that. I'm going to extrude this with this and this. mid-plane, and I'm going to use cut. And how far is my extrusion going to go? 1/2 inch. I'm going to hit OK. You can't visually see anything. See, that's why now you have to go back to View, Visual Style, and make it, I'm going to use Shaded with Edges. And there you go. I'm going to turn my sketches off because they are visually challenging. And there is your object cut out. Oh yeah, I showed you a totally different way to draw with this drawing. Totally different. Just to show you. Alright? I understand if you do not draw it this way. Because this is a different way. What I allowed me to show you share sketch again. That's what doing this allowed me to show you. It allowed me to show you how I didn't even use the whole command, did I? At all in this one. I used one sketch and basically built all of the objects off of just the basic sketches. Literally, that's what I did. You're welcome to look at it just for assessment, but my guess is if you did the following approach, some of you may have taken this approach, and it might spit at me if I do this. How many of you started with the back wall or started with the basic shape? Some of you may have started with this basic shape here. How many of you started with this shape? Sorry, let me try to capture it real. This guy. But the whole thing. I think one of you did. And when you drew when you did your extended circle, that's where the mistake is. Because you should not have a line back here. You shouldn't have an extra line back here. I think Axel, I think that's yours, right? You've got a line in the back. When you draw that second circle, just touch the other object. I'll show you up here. If I want to extend this for some reason, without using the object, so to speak. I pick the face of the object, I create a new sketch, not edit the sketch, I create a new sketch. When you draw that second circle, touch the other object. Because when you do that, it confines it to that object. So they literally share the same shape, the same diameter, radius, whatever you want to call it. Then when you extrude that object, you will get a smooth finish. See that? So hypothetically speaking, if that had a blind hole in it, there you go. Now it's got a holder, for example. I'm going to use orbit for this conversation. So it's got a centering piece, like you could insert a part and it has a bottom. See that? I'm making up a use for the object. It clips onto your bike. There you go. Got it? But that's how you would do that. If that's something. So in your case, that's what you would do. Because I have a feeling that's what you did, right? You added on the extra hole, but you drew it without locking it to the outer shape. But you can edit the sketch for that. Like in my case, let's say I screwed up. And I was like, no, I didn't want it to be the same diameter. I can edit that sketch. And you can drag it away. So that, I didn't actually lock that one. Let me lock it first so you can see. When you make it concentric, this and this. Oops, am I in my sketch? Hold on. Let me finish my sketch. There you go. See, there's my sketch. I'm going to edit that sketch. I want this and this. I'm going to pick the two together. They're concentric, which means they're centered to each other, but they're not what? They're not coincident, sharing the same shape. That didn't work. They're not tangent. If I pick these two and made them tangent to each other, that would lock them together. See that? Tangency is the one you would use. In your case, though, if you want to get rid of a sketch, I'm sorry, get rid of a constraint, you have to first see them. So you have to visually see those constraints. So when you click on the object, that's when you see their constraints. So you could click on that guy, say, no, no, see you? I want you to delete and go away. So that way I can control you independently. See that? When you do stuff like that, then you can add steps and things like that. Cool? But for this product, you actually want something that looks like this, guys. And when you hit home, you want it to look like this. And what was the last one? The last one, the third part, is the one that I think you guys can do on your own with everything you already know today. Got it, guys? So I'm actually not going to lecture on this last one. I lectured on this guy for today and this one. This ends this lecture.